In just 2 days' time, the nation is entering what they call the inauguration's transfer of power, um, with an unnerving police and military presence guarding the vestiges of democracy, with Americans holding their breath as as the federal officials warn about threats of violence and potential unrest fueled by Pumpkin Tits' corrosive and dangerous lies that the election was stolen from him, which it wasn't. But normally the inauguration of a president is a joyful event that brings thousands of people to Washington to celebrate. But with authorities determined to stave off the terrifying scene that unfolded during the violent insurrection of the U.S. Capitol on January 6th, and Washington D.C. Washington D.C. was once the crown jewel of democracy that was admired around the world. Now it resembles a police state as authorities try to ensure a peaceful transfer of power when President-elect Joe Biden takes the oath of office on Wednesday. Some 25,000 National Guard troops have been deployed. Military vehicles are blocking some of D.C. streets, and the National Mall is closed, and tall fences and barricades protect this country's sacred buildings as movement is restricted. Deep within the fortress capital city, Pumpkin Tits remained out of public view during his last weekend in power, and unrepentant for the violence he incited and unwilling to abandon the false election claims that have riled up his inbred sycophants. In that absence of leadership, Biden tried to get Americans focused on a more hopeful future as his team outlined the first steps he will take in office to try to aid struggling Americans amid the pandemic and fulfill campaign promises on issues like climate change, criminal justice, and immigration. But with fewer than 2 days left in the Pumpkin Tit squadancy, the nation remains on edge. And another unsettling sign of the potential threats that are posed by homemade bombs or explosives like the ones planted outside the Republican and Democratic Party headquarters earlier this month, which luckily they didn't go off. The U.S. Postal Service has removed at least blue mail collection boxes from certain jurisdictions in 18 states as a security precaution. With Americans forced into that security state by the actions of a careless and autocratic squatter in chief, Democratic Representative Jamie Raskin, the lead impeachment manager in the House, had argued on Sunday morning that Democratic and Republican leaders in the Senate should convict the squatter in the upcoming impeachment trial to make it clear that there are consequences for his actions that led to the siege at the Capitol. I don't think anybody would seriously argue that we should establish a precedent where every squatter on the way out the door has 2 weeks, 3 weeks, or 4 weeks to try to incite an insurrection against the Union or organize a coup against the Union. And if it succeeds, he becomes a dictator, and if it fails, he's not subject to impeachment or conviction because we just want to let bygones be bygones. The Maryland Democrat told CNN's Jake Tapper on State of the Union, and this was the most serious crime in the history of the United States of America, and the most dangerous crime even committed by a squatter against the United States, and there are Republicans who are recognizing it as well as Democrats. Um, Though Democrats have argued that the squatter he presents a clear and present danger to the nation, and Raskin said he did not know when House Speaker Nancy Pelosi would transfer the article of impeachment to the Senate, which has been out of session. Biden has said that impeachment will be up to Congress, and he has declined to offer any opinion on the upcoming trial in the Senate. But his incoming chief of staff, Ron Klain, had told Tapper on Sunday that it was clear that Pumpkin Tits did incite this mob on January 6th, and Biden officials remain concerned about broader threats surrounding this week's ceremonies, even though they believe that the Secret Service, with assistance from the National Guard, would keep the inauguration itself safe. Klain noted that Biden decided to run for president after hearing Pumpkin Tits' remarks following the demonstrations by white supremacists in Charlottesville and the murder of 32-year-old paralegal Heather Heyer, who was part of a group of counter-protesters opposing the presence of the alternative Republican groups that day. The events of the past few weeks have proven out just how damaged the soul of America has been and how important it is to restore it, and that work starts on Wednesday, Klain said. In these final days of the Pumpkin Tit squadancy, the National Guard presence in Washington is a stronger military footprint than the U.S. has in Afghanistan, Iraq, and Syria combined. A scenario that would have once seemed unthinkable in the nation's seat of democracy, but Maryland Senator Chris Van Hollen had said Saturday that the added security was necessary and warranted. This is as if we're under attack from a foreign enemy, Van Hollen had told CNN's Walt Blitzer on the Situation Room. What's so sad about it is that it's an attack on our democracy from within, and that was instigated by the squatter of the United States, and many state capitals are also ramping up security to avoid being caught what they call flat-footed, as U.S. Capitol police were on January 6th, and with the FBI warning last week that armed protests are being planned in all 50 states. Michigan State Police, for example, have mobilized personnel from across the state um, as to secure the state capitol in Lansing in coordination with the FBI and the National Guard. Michigan, in particular, is familiar with the threats posed by armed protesters who gathered last spring to demonstrate against restrictions that were related to COVID-19, and with demonstrations expected Sunday, a fence has been erected around the state capitol, and Lansing Mayor Andy Score had asked Michiganders to stay out of the downtown area and avoid engaging with demonstrators who come to our city with ill intent. The Michigan House and Senate have canceled what they call sessions Tuesday through Thursday because of credible threats, and the Airbnb is also reviewing reservations that are booked around Lansing during inauguration week, saying that they will have to cancel reservations that are booked by guests associated with violent hate groups. Unwilling to take responsibility for the fear that has rippled across the nation after watching the January 6 attacks, Pumpkin Tits had remained out of sight all week, but now he's stripped of the ability to communicate with his followers via social media channels like Facebook and Twitter because they banned him. But in what appeared to be another overtly political move at the 11th hour, this administration tried to install Pumpkin Tit loyalists as a top lawyer at the National Security Agency, a civil servant job, not a political appointment, and it would be harder to fire that person after Biden takes office, sources told CNN. Eschewing the customary handoff between presidents on Inauguration Day, even though Pumpkin Tits is the only one that's not really a president, he's a squatter. Pumpkin Tits plans to head to Palm Beach, Florida, hours before Biden takes the oath of office, but Pumpkin Tits remains keenly interested in how he will be celebrated when he leaves office for hopefully the last time, contemplating a departure ceremony that could include a red carpet, a color guard, a military band, and even a 21-gun salute, an administration official told CNN's Jim Acosta, which those are stuff he doesn't deserve. Pumpkin Tits is also preoccupied in these final days with building a legal team to defend him during his upcoming impeachment trial, as a number of high-profile advisors who defended him the last time he faced a Senate trial make it clear that they're not interested in this second round. Though the squatter's personal attorney, Rudy Kaludi, was seen Saturday at the White House, a Pumpkin Tit campaign spokesperson told Hogan Gidley had tweeted that the squatter has not yet selected the team that will represent him for the disgraceful attack on our Constitution and democracy, known as the impeachment. The squatter is leaving office with the lowest approval rating of any of his squad in seat, 34%, according to a CNN poll that was conducted by SSRS. And 54% of Americans say that he should be removed from office because of his role for inciting the violence at the Capitol. The squatter has resisted calls from his aides to give a final speech recounting the accomplishments of the administration, which he doesn't have any. Instead, dumbass Pence, who will be attending Biden's inauguration, continues to be the public-facing leader of the administration, and traveling to the Naval Station Lemoore in California on Saturday to give a speech touting the administration's national security achievements, which they don't have any in that either. The American people basically are grateful. No, we're not. Well, the one thing that we're grateful on is Pumpkin Tits is leaving. That's what we're grateful for. Also the vice squatter argued that the military is now more equipped than ever, and added, with no irony, even though parts of the nation are currently locked down under heavy guard, that he claims he was proud to say that with just a few days left in this administration. This is the first administration in decades to not get America into a war. Pumpkin Tits almost damn near caused a war. So. And now we're getting ready for Biden. While it has been hard for Biden to capture the nation's attention after the security breach at the Capitol, but Klain had penned a memo detailing the executive actions Biden would take on his first day of office to reverse some of the policies of the Pumpkin Tit administration, which include putting us back into the Paris Climate Accord and rescinding the ban on travel from predominantly Muslim countries. Biden has also rolled out his first signature legislative initiative this week, when he announced his $1.9 trillion relief package to mitigate the economic damage that was wrought by the coronavirus pandemic, and to expand and accelerate the delivery of the COVID-19 vaccine across the United States. Biden's advisors are concerned that the Senate's focus on impeachment could draw the Senate's attention away from critical tasks like confirming members for the president-elect's national security team and his cabinet. It's important for the Senate to do its constitutional duty, but also to do its constitutional duty to move forward on these appointments. And on the urgent action on the urgent action that the country needs, Klain told Tapper on Sunday, noting that the Senate was able to conduct confirmation hearings for nominees during this morning's sessions while Pumpkin's previous impeachment trial was underway. I hope that the Senate leaders, on a partisan basis, find a way to move forward on all their responsibilities. Klain's memo about Biden's upcoming executive action said that the squatter said that the president-elect would sign orders halting evictions and giving relief from student loan payments to those struggling financially because of the coronavirus pandemic. But Biden also plans to institute a mask mandate at federal sites and for travel between states. The president-elect has challenged Americans to mask up in his first 100 days in office, but Biden also plans to introduce an immigration plan within his first 100 days that would include a pathway to citizenship for many undocumented immigrants that are living in the United States. In late January and early February, he also intends to ask the federal government to devise a system for reuniting children separated from their families at the U.S.-Mexico border, and will focus on moving criminal justice reform. On Sunday, Klain had highlighted Biden's plans to streamline the nation's slow and lurching system for administering the COVID-19 vaccine by speeding up the delivery and ensuring an adequate supply of second doses for the Pfizer and Moderna vaccines, and by using the Defense Production Act, for example, to produce syringes that would allow health workers to extract 6 doses from each vial instead of 5, and thereby increasing the vaccine supply by 20%. But we're inheriting a huge mess here, Klain told Tapper, but we have a plan to fix it, and that's that.